What's up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Rains back again with another episode. Oh, okay, let's try this again. What is up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Rains back again with another episode of the IDP Army podcast. If you're listening on Apple or iTunes, please go leave a 5-star rating and a positive review. That would be super dope of you. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe so you can watch all of our other videos. You can be updated. You can leave comments. We'd super appreciate it. We would love to have you back. And yeah, like I said, today we're going to do a podcast. Today we're going to do a podcast about linebackers. We're going to cover linebackers 13 through 24 in our consensus IDP Army top 24 linebacker rankings. If you missed the top 12, go back, check out the last video, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave a comment. Who do you think we are talking about now that needed to be in that video? But yeah, I'm joined by my man, Joe Herboth. How you doing, Joe?
Doing pretty good, man. Excited to be on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we jump into our rankings, we're going to talk about a couple of just, odds and ends things. One thing is, of course, go check out Monkey Knife Fight. Another thing is Sleeper did change their designations on IDP players. That was kind of a big topic today. By the time you guys actually see this video, I don't know if they will have changed it back or updated it or not, but they have. I've talked to Sleeper, and it's looking like we are going to get. It's not going to stay the way that they changed it. So don't go doing anything crazy like dropping Zadarius Smith or Harold Landry or trading them for pennies on the dollar. Things are going to change. Be patient. It's still early in the offseason. They're making improvements to their system, and that's what we want them to do. So there's going to be some growing pains, but this is when they do that. So yeah, never fear. That is going to get worked out. So I definitely wanted to bring that to the forefront. Yeah. So we also want to talk about PFF, our good friends over at PFF. They dropped their top 10 linebacker rankings today on their Twitter, on their Twitter. So we thought it would be fun to share that with you guys and see what you think about them. So they had Bobby Wagner, Fred Warner, Eric Kendricks, Lavonte David, Demario Davis, Darius Leonard at 6, Dion Jones, Roquan Smith, Deontay Hightower, who didn't play last year, and Alexander
Johnson. Wow. That's awesome. Awfully
awesome. I know it's kind of like, a lot of people love to trash PFF, but, we're different around here. We don't. Nah, I'm just kidding. Let's trash them. What's up with this?
How are you going to put Darius Alexander Johnson and Dante Hightower in your top 10 when you have Darius Leonard at 6, Roquan Smith at 8, behind Bobby Wagner? Demario Davis is in the top 5.
Okay, I can understand. Let's show a little love to Demario Davis. He's earned his right to be there, okay?
Dante Hightower, Darius Leonard and Roquan
I didn't say he earned his right to be ahead of them, but he definitely earned the right to be in a top linebacker list that went 10 deep.
Does Fred Warner deserve a top 3?
No,
position?
Not even close.
Not
Freddie,
even.
baby. Here's the thing, and this is for better or worse. PFF skews their grading to coverage. So if you are good at coverage, then you're just automatically the best linebacker in the league, and that just seems to be what it is. That's why Devin White, the best linebacker in the NFL in actual life, that's not Darius Leonard or Roquan Smith, isn't even on this list because he's quote unquote sucks at coverage.
Sure, I guess.
Sure, I guess we'll take your word for it.
My opponents in fantasy leagues are taking that to heart. This list right here, that'll really help come startup drafts.
Yeah, well, Bobby Wagner at 1. I understand paying homage there. Darius Leonard though needs to be 1 or 2 in grading and just any list. Like I don't know, this guy per Sam Monson. I guess I don't really know. I don't know. There's just I have a lot of questions. I did go through the comments pretty deep, and there was a lot of Miles Jack love in the comments of this. In the 800 comments that this has, quite a few of them were pro Miles Jack.
Didn't he barely make it on our 24, like the back end?
He did. He just got him by the skin of his balls.
Makes us, people want him top 10.
People want him top 10.
And
Yeah.
no Devin Bush.
Yeah. No Devin Bush.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, we thought that would be a little fun thought exercise for everyone. Just so if you guys think we're crazy, go check out these loons over at PFF.
Yeah.
They
Make
have
us
good.
look better.
Yeah, they make us look better. No, no real shade at PFF. I mean, what they do and what we do are different. So their 10 best linebackers are just not as good as our 10 best linebackers. So
Pretty simple.
yeah, pretty easy stuff to figure out. Okay, let's get right to it. Coming in at 13 for us on our rankings is the man, Dion Jones. He did come in on the PFF rankings at number 7. 13 for us. It was kind of a tale of two careers so far for Dion Jones. Well, okay, that's not the right word. It's been a roller coaster for Dion Jones. It's been high highs, low lows, and he got back up there this year, finished as a top 12 linebacker. We have him coming in at 13. For me, it really comes down to the impact plays and the tackle floor. I mean, that's always, it's always redundant. We talk about it a lot, but Dion Jones's tackle floor this last year was just not. It wasn't what it was his first really big year. A guy up like 130 something. He just barely put over 100 this year. He was saved by the impact plays. Now, for better or worse, Dan Quinn is now gone, so I don't know if the impact plays, the amount of blitzes that Dion Jones was being asked to do is going to be there for him this year. So if he can't get his tackles up, I'm a little bit concerned. He's obviously a high-end linebacker too for us here at 13. What are your thoughts on Dion Jones? I know you've always been high on Dion Jones. Actually, I believe the very first person I ever talked to about IDP in my life was you.
Yeah.
And
I
had
like
Dion Jones. You had him on a team.
Like you said, 25 impact plays. That's pretty high. He the career high this last year with 4.5 sacks. And actually, throughout his career, the guy has 5 touchdowns on the IDP side in 5 seasons. So I would like to know anyone that can top that list in the last 5 years. I imagine he's amongst the top. And like you said, the only thing really keeping him from being much, much higher on this list is his lack of his tackle floor. He doesn't have a very high tackle floor, but he makes up for it in impact plays, like you said. So if he could find a way, maybe this new defensive coordinator coming in can maybe get more out of him, get him more opportunities to increase his tackle floor. And if these impact plays, if he keeps somewhere around the 20-25 range and increases those tackles, we could be looking at easily a top 6 linebacker.
Yeah, the upside's there. Atlanta, I just got off a show and people were talking about Atlanta. There seems to be a lot of, I don't know, they feel to me like the Eagles a couple of years ago or last year, where everybody's just like, oh, they're going to be so good. And I'm just like, I just don't see it. I think there's going to be a lot of defensive snaps for Atlanta. I think he could get his tackles up just by being on the field more this year.
Yep. Yeah. And then they do have a pretty good offense. I mean, yeah, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with Julio.
We do know, though.
Ryan's still good.
We do know, though. Julio's not going to play there.
Yeah.
Julio's gone. This is the
Calvin
first time
Ridley,
This is the first time we'll see Matt Ryan have to play a full season without Julio. I find it hard to project success onto the Atlanta Falcons.
Wins and losses, I agree. As far as putting up points, I still think Matt Ryan's a pretty damn good quarterback, and they still have Calvin Ridley, who's the top 15 wide receiver in any fashion you want to look at, and supposedly Kyle Pitts is already the greatest tight end ever played. So just with those two right there, they're set. Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't know. They always put up points. Matt Ryan gets a lot of hate.
No, you're right.
They score a lot of points. Their defense is probably going to be on the field a lot to have other opponents keep up. And Dion Jones has benefited from that in his career. So I look forward to that continuing because it's gonna.
All right. Let's move on down. Staying in division, coming in at 14 for us is Lavonte David. He's a legend for IDP fantasy players that have played for a long time. He's one of the highest floor, high ceiling producers. 2020, 16 games he played, 273 points, 17 points per game. Did finish just a little bit outside of the top 12 this last year. 117 combined tackles, which is the second lowest total of his career. But as usual, he is and was an impact player, coming through for you in a big way, playing alongside Devin White, rather. But I mean, listen to the impact play totals for Lavonte David over the past 4 years. 26, 23, 22, 20. So what are you going to get with Lavonte David? A guy who's going to make plays. 34 impact plays in 2016. I'm looking at the index right now, and some guys that have really high impact play numbers, I will record even farther back. And I'm looking right now at Lavonte David. This is crazy. 34 in 2016, 21 in 2015, 27 in 14, 46 in 2013, and 27 in 2012. This guy is on a whole nother stratosphere as far as consistency and high level production. It's almost shameful that we have him this low. And for me, of all the guys that are in this kind of area of our rankings, he to me is the guy who's most likely going to finish higher just because of the disruptive defense that he plays on. You know, Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, Devin White, Antoine Winfield. We got Tom Brady putting the points on the board. It's just going to be more of the same. And with the ceiling that he has, he could easily push into the top 12, I think. But for 14 for us right now, what are your thoughts on David?
I agree with you completely. I mean, this guy, like you said, he really it's hard to justify having him this low, but at some point you almost have to choose a few players over him just due to age. But he's just consistently performed. His tackles have kind of declined over the years, but he's still getting the impact plays. So who really cares? His numbers are still really efficient and effective. And did he not just get a contract from them or an extension for 2021? And I think even beyond. So that was nice to see. So yeah, there's really, and with him, if you do have him on your team, you can't hardly justify trading him because you're not going to get what I've noticed is you're not going to get what he's worth. He's worth a lot. He's worth a top 6 linebacker position, but you're not going to get that out of him due to his age. I mean, he is aging, but he's still performing. And we're seeing now with the way the NFL is, you know, wide receivers and offensive players aren't taking the hits that they used to, so they're playing longer. And the same is slowly happening for the linebackers that used to deliver those hits. They're starting to play longer. So used to at 30, we saw a massive decline. We're now seeing these guys play pretty effectively, like Lavonte and Demario Davis and Bobby Wagner. They're all like 31, 32, playing at a high rate. So he could do this for a couple more years. I think we could see that. That's realistic.
Yeah, love it. I love that take. I love the confidence. And I mean, there's no one with a more solid resume on which to plant that kind of confidence. So love that. All right, we'll go on down, moving quickly to 15 for us. We have Kenneth Murray, second year with the Los Angeles Chargers. Why don't you take the lead on Kenneth Murray? We texted a little bit about him the other night.
Yeah, I feel Kenneth Murray, there's a lot more meat left to be had with this guy. Hopefully we see a pretty large improvement. He played, the full season in 2021, his rookie year, 201 points, according to IDP 123 scoring, which averaged out to be 12.56 points per game, which isn't awful. 107 combined tackles, 5 tackles for loss. He didn't force any turnovers, and he was on the field a lot for 959 snaps. And out of all those snaps, he was only able to obtain 9 or create 9 impact plays. So that's not really that great for that type of snaps. And for reference, guys like Danny Trevathan, who had 832 snaps, and Nick Morrow both finished the season higher than him with less snap count. So really, I feel like we're going off of projections and what we think he's capable of. But I think as far as trying to get him in leagues, and I'm guilty of it myself. I've acquired him in a couple of leagues, and I think maybe there's a chance we could overpay right now because we haven't seen it. It's purely, hopefully what we've seen is his floor. Is really what I'm hoping for. And if that's the case, that's awesome. I would just like to definitely see a pretty substantial jump in of actual performance this year in 2021. Most notably, impact plays. I mean, he was on the field a massive amount for a rookie, almost 1,000 snaps. And, to only have 9 impact plays, we definitely want to see that number climb.
Yeah, and I think there's a good chance it will. I know I mentioned to you that, he played injured last year, some sort of shoulder injury, but he wanted to, from what I understand, he just said, I want to tough it out. Like, I know you guys drafted me to be the leader of this team, leader of this defense. And I'm not going to not play. So that probably did make him a little tentative, in his ability to make plays on the ball. another guy who I feel like suffered from that exact same thing we're going to be talking about very soon.
And I hope that's the case. I really do, because that I want to see guys be like that. I think that's pretty awesome, and I guess we'll find out. And also, the San Diego Chargers are trending up on offense, so that bodes well for the defense on the IDP side, because there's going to be more potential opportunities on the defense because the other team's going to want to score more. So really, right now, everything is trending up. We just need to see it put pen to paper with his stats. And getting Derwin James back, I know you're a little low on him than most, but that could bode well for him too.
Yeah, you need all the help you can get out there, Los Angeles. Them old Chargers. All right, we're gonna move on down the list. At 16, we have another veteran, Demario Davis, from one of your favorite teams, the New Orleans Saints. Demario Davis has been on a couple of different teams now, kind of has settled into a really dominant role for the for the Saints in their middle linebacking position. Like I say, he's a little bit older, 32 years old, but that's not really something I'm concerned about. As to what you said, one of the things you love about him is the consistency. You look at his career, he's played 16 games every year since 2017, played 15 in 2016, but then the 3 years previous to that, 16, 16, 16. So he always shows up. He doesn't get hurt. He's not missing time for whatever reason. Another thing you love to see is the tackles for loss. So last 4 years, he's gone over double-digit tackles for loss. Now, just for reference on what that means, we talked about Bobby Wagner in our last show, who has only gone over double-digit tackles for loss 3 times in his career, 9 years. We have Demario Davis going over that 4 times. That's high leverage snaps, tackles for loss. I don't know if anyone listens to Move the Sticks podcast, but they literally just had Luke Kuechly on there, and he was talking about the most underrated defensive play in football is a tackle for loss. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. And he named all the reasons I say that they should be, worth more in IDP and they need to be paid more attention to as well. It's a behind the line of scrimmage play. It moves the offense backwards, not forwards. It takes away the down and puts them in a worse position. If it's just a sack, but not of the quarterback. And if you look at it that way, then you should be paying a little bit more attention to tackles for loss. So Demario Davis is going out here consistently doing that. And then on top of that, 4 sacks, 5 sacks. He's actually rushing the passer a lot too. He blitzes a ton at the linebacker position, which you don't get a lot of guys that consistently blitz a lot, from scheme to scheme, but he has continued to be a high-level blitzer, and he gets home. These aren't ending up in hurries and pressures. These are ending up with quarterbacks on their ass. That's 6-point play. You stack that with your tackle for loss, you're looking at an 11-point swing right there, and he's got the ability to do that a couple of times a season for you from the middle linebacker position. So even though I'm not a huge Saints fan, Demario Davis is one of the few players that when I'm watching a Saints game, like he's the guy I've always got eyes on because I just love watching him play.
Yeah, and he's just a level of consistency is just there year in, year out. He's finished top 20 in end of season rankings in IDP 1, 2, 3 as a linebacker last 4 seasons. So that's just a level of consistency that you love. And I was a little skeptical when he came to New Orleans, but after being with the Jets all those years, but he's performed well, and I was pretty shocked by it, and I was happy to see them be able to retain him again this year. And really, I'd like to see him find a way to keep him for next year because he's still producing really, really well. He's still their best linebacker. So it's great to see.
Yeah, he's good. He doesn't get gaudy tackle numbers, which is why I think some IDP people don't love him. His highest season's 135, and that's been a while back. But he usually hits in that. He goes over 100 pretty consistently. Because he has impact plays to go with it. It doesn't really bog him down.
Those tackles for losses, you can't. Sure that for one, the sack floor over the last 4 seasons, he's averaging 4.5 sacks, so that's great. And then you add in, he's averaging, 11 or 12 tackles for loss per season, which is almost equivalent to a sack. So as far as scoring wise, that's where his bread and butter is. And then, his pass deflections aren't awful either. 5 in 2020, and he had 12 last year in 2019, which is a great number. So yeah, the impact plays are there. That's what's important. And the the tackle floor isn't what you want necessarily, but if you're getting the 20 or more impact plays each year, which he's been doing, you can't complain.
Yep, exactly. You really can't complain with him. We'll move on down the list. Number 17 for us with his fourth season with the Buffalo Bills. They did pick up his fifth-year option. That is Tremaine Edmunds. 15 games played this last year. He injured his shoulder early in the season, which kind of slowed him down, in my opinion, of kind of what was going on with him. Traditionally has been a high-level impact player. He has gotten behind the line of scrimmage for a big season with tackles for loss. He's gotten high pass deflection seasons. But this last season, he really didn't do a lot. But again, I personally attribute a lot of that to the early season injury. So I have a lot of faith in him actually this next year to pull off some, a linebacker one type of season. I just was actually saying to somebody on the IDP Army Discord, I think that I'm projecting him to have his best season of his career this year. I think he pulls it all together. I think he goes up, 120 plus tackles, which he's not done in his career. And then I think he goes from there. He tacks on the impact plays that weren't there this last year, only 8. And he had 121 combined tackles his rookie season. I'm sorry. So now he would have to go a little bit past that, but I think he's got it in him. It's a contract year. So that always gives guys incentive. The injury, he's totally recovered from that. And again, I've said it 3 times now, but that's what I attribute to him not getting impact plays this last year, even though he still had the second most tackles of his career and played 15 games. He wasn't able to finish plays the way that he had been years previously.
Yeah, and to go off of you saying he had it, you think he has it in him. He's proven that he does. With 23 impact plays per season in his first 2 years, to have such a drastic drop off, you would think, and in a scheme that hasn't changed defensively that I know of. So you would think that's got to pretty much be due to something, and him having that, nagging injury throughout the year has to pay a pretty big contribution to the lack of impact plays, like you're saying. I think there's some merit there. I think that really is the cause. And and we'd like to see him. He does miss tackles. That's something where there's more there to be had. I mean, he missed 12 tackles each of the last 2 years, and as a rookie, he missed 24, which was 16% of his opportunities. So that's huge. So yeah, there's more meat to be had, and a healthy Tremaine Edmunds in year 4, playing for a big contract. I really think this is a great year to try to acquire him before the season even starts, because he is going to be, barring some catastrophic injury or anything, he's going to be putting his best performance out there from week 1. So I think he's a guy to buy prior to the season starting. Now the Bills did pick up his 5th-year option already, but most linebackers want to go ahead and get that new contract before that 5th-year option even starts. So this year is his contract year still, in my mind, barring him not performing where we think he will. But I don't think we're going to have to worry about that.
No. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at his production profile, and again, this year, just to show the kind of outlier it was, in his rookie season, 56% of his points were from solo tackles. His sophomore season, 53%. Then you go to last year, and this is the big mover, 68%. So he was really just doing everything in the tackle department. Couldn't get any points anywhere else. Only 3 pass deflections and 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. I mean, he should have, essentially you would expect him to have about double that to go along with the 119 tackles. So like you said, I think there's a lot of meat here still to be had, and he's a great buy candidate right now. I've got him as a buy in the index. What got his value at right now? I think a second is reasonable for a good price for him. I mean, if you got 119 tackles and 18 impact plays out of one of the rookies you just got, you'd be thrilled. And you drafted all those guys in the second. So, yep. All right. Well, let's hear from our sponsors real quick before we go on the list. What's up, IDP Army? It's your man, Jordan Rains, interrupting the show quickly to tell you guys about a new sponsor of the show, Monkey Knife Fight. If you haven't checked out Monkey Knife Fight yet, you're definitely going to want to do that. Let me tell you what they have to offer, all right? Monkey Knife Fight is daily fantasy sports gaming website for casual sports fans that is simple and easy to use and easy to play. The users determine which superstars competing for the day's professional sporting events will record more or less than the contest provided. Monkey Knife Fight's daily fantasy prop games play similar to salary cap-based DFS games, But without all the algorithms, the lineups, and most importantly, the sharks, you guys got to go try this at IDP Army, okay? Monkey Knife Fight is like our brand, like the IDP Army brand. It's disruptive, it's forward thinking, and they are definitely where we play daily fantasy sports. You guys should too. Get started today with a 100% instant match bonus up to $50 if you use the promo code IDP Army. That's only for the first time or new depositors only, but hopefully you guys are getting in there, winning some money, having a good time, and make sure whenever you guys get in there, and if you do win a little bit of money, which is what we want you to do, take those winnings, go sign up with the Patreon, patreon.com. That'll get you into the IDP Army Patreon, where you can check out the Ultimate IDP Index, the Discord channel, and all that other good stuff. So, IDP Army, you know what to do. Back to the show. We are back, IDP Army. Appreciate everybody that's in the Discord. Appreciate everybody that's in the Patreon. Appreciate the IDP Army. Check out the website, idparmy.com. You can get links to all that stuff. We got a couple articles up there. Shout out to Bomber. He's doing some great work over there for us, and we will have more stuff coming. Guys, we got big, huge, monstrous things cooking. All right. Monkey Knife Fights cooking. Sleepers cooking. We're cooking. All right.
Flipping burgers.
Flipping them burgers. SpongeBobbing it up.
Yep.
Join us in Bikini Bottom. I'm a Sandy. All right. So number 18 for us on our top 24 linebackers is Eric Wilson. Now, this is really high compared to where he was probably anywhere last year, because he probably wasn't even ranked by many people last year. If you know the story of Eric Wilson, it starts essentially week 2 when Anthony Barr got hurt, and he came in to fill in as the starter. And he went on to have an extremely prolific linebacker season, 25 impact plays. That right there, just, it's like I said, stop. I'm almost speechless. 25 impact plays for a guy coming off the bench is unreal. Playing next to Eric Kendricks too most of the season, which makes it even more unreal because Eric Kendricks is a total savage. We talked about him on the top. He was in our top 10. Okay. So this guy came out, showed himself to be worthwhile, and then he goes out and gets picked up by the Eagles because they have Anthony Barr coming back with the Minnesota Vikings. So now Eric Wilson finds himself on the Eagles. They need linebacker help. I'm an Eric Wilson believer, Joe, and I think you are too. What do you like about Eric Wilson and his trajectory right now?
Well, obviously, like you said, the 25 impact plays, for a guy that was really coming into his fourth year, is huge. I mean, the guy was undrafted in 2017. He only saw snaps for special teams, and then his second, third year, he only averaged 33% of the team snaps. But in 2020, like you said, due to injury, got a huge increase in snaps and played 96% of their snaps. So, assuming that's the role he's going to take in Philadelphia, which he has to basically. There's I don't see another option for them, and they brought him in, for enough money to say he is the starter. I foresee the same production coming in, if not better, with more experience and game scripts. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be bad. They are, and so the opportunities are going to be there for him. He's going to be on the field a lot, and he's gonna make plays. 25 impact plays, like you said, is huge, especially when he's lining up next to a guy that is doing the same type of stuff. So I'm excited for him, and he still is a guy that I think isn't considered a top 25 linebacker when in reality he is. So he's definitely a buy low guy. I mean, most people aren't really looking at him the way that they should.
Yeah, I was looking, I'm looking at the index, and one of the things I have noted here on Wilson is he had almost a 1-to-1 solo tackle to assist tackle ratio, which is kind of uncommon. You don't normally see that. So you usually see more solos than assists by a decent little margin. So that tells me that he left some points on the field. You give him a handful of those, you sprinkle him towards the solo side, and he goes even higher last year than he finished as a linebacker 11. And like I said, that was playing alongside Eric Kendricks, who was a top 5 linebacker through week 12. So he
probably
finished
played a huge part into those becoming assisted tackles. He's not lining up to a guy that's a ball hawk like that. Those numbers could easily have increased pretty considerable.
Yep. Agree 100%. So Eric Wilson, he comes in for us on our list at number 18. Eagles fans, maybe you guys finally got that linebacker you've all wanted. Next on our list, we have Isaiah Simmons coming in at 19. I think people think we're like Isaiah Simmons haters, but we're not. We're just not obsessed with Isaiah Simmons like some people are. He's a good linebacker. He couldn't get that starting role last year, being a first round pick, but he had some savvy veterans in front of him, and they were out there. But 11 impact plays for him, very similar to what Logan Wilson did. Similar number of snaps. Wilson played, I believe, a little bit less. Yeah, we had 376 defensive snaps cumulative for Isaiah Simmons last year. Not what you would have thought were getting from him when you drafted him in your rookie drafts 2 years ago in IDP rookie drafts, but you take what you get. They've openly stated now that they are looking to trade Jordan Hicks, who was the linebacker 2 years ago, was still a top 15 linebacker last year, top 24 linebacker. You have Devondre Campbell, who I believe they did not exercise the option in their contract for him. And they've openly stated that Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins are the guys that they're going to move forward with. Right now, we have Isaiah Simmons as our lead guy in our rankings for that group, just because like we said with Logan Wilson, or like I don't say I say I'm saying I said like Logan Wilson. I mentioned that earlier on a different show, but um, Logan Wilson had 10 impact plays on 343 snaps, 11 impact plays for Simmons on 376. That's a super high rate. He also had 54 tackles on that many snaps. That's a lot. So there is upside with Isaiah Simmons. And if he can, hold down that role, assuming that they don't, do anything silly, he looks like he could be in a good spot to finish as a top linebacker this year.
Yeah, I agree. And the news that that the Cardinals are trying to move Jordan Hicks is awesome. That's great for Simmons, because prior to that, I think we were a little lower than most, because them drafting the rookie that they did crowd the what was actually going to happen. But if Jordan Hicks is moved, that makes it a whole lot more clear Simmons' role in their defense. So yeah, barring that move does happen, that's huge for him. And honestly, he could easily finish considerably higher in these ranks, in our personal rankings, if he does get that 900 to 1,000 snap percentage, because like we're saying, our snap count, because he did get the sacks on a limited snap count, 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. I mean, that's pretty good. And he did have a couple, like you said, what would you say, 10 impact plays? That's not bad. I mean, for
11.
that snap count, 11. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, if you take that snap and you triple it, I mean, not to assume that those tackles are going to come with it, but if they were, I mean, that's 130 to 140 tackles. So that's a pretty high number. So yeah, the narrative is trending in his direction. They just need that trade to go through to clear up who's really the 1 and 2 there.
Yeah. If you prorate out him for 1,000 snaps last year, which, obviously is one thing or another, that's 144 tackles. So, he was pacing for some big dog tackles. He was pacing for a big dog season. But again, small sample size. We'll have to see if he can keep that pace up when he is the guy. And he looks like he's going to get his opportunity. So that's why we have him in our top 20 this year. So we'll go ahead and scoot on down the list. After him, okay, we have 2 rookies here. We're not going to talk very long about the rookies because we don't, we only have landing spot information and what the coaches have kind of told us. But we have Micah Parsons at 20 and Jerome Davis at 21. Micah Parsons, everybody knows who he is, or you should know who he is. Penn State linebacker, drafted by the Cowboys. He's essentially going to it's been said that he's going to have a starting linebacker role. So as a guy who's already had been told that he's going to be a starting linebacker, we have to put him in this spot because we've seen high level linebacker production from Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch in these roles. He's taking one of those 2 roles. I think he's taking Leighton Vander Esch's role, or maybe he won't take his role, but if he takes Jalen Smith's role, Jalen Smith is going to take Leighton Vander Esch's role, if that makes sense. Leighton Vander Esch is not going to be playing football on a regular basis as long as there's more talented linebackers like these guys around. And then Jerome Davis, there's not really anybody in front of him, with the Washington football team, and that's kind of the final infinity stone to their gauntlet for defense. So both those guys landed in good spots. We have them as mid-range linebacker twos. Any strong thoughts, feelings, or opinions on those two players?
No, not really. Like you said, we don't have anything to go off of other than the spots, which are perfect. I don't really see a world where either one of them aren't at least, flex options in larger IDP leagues, which if that's your floor from a rookie linebacker, that's pretty damn awesome. And I'm pretty excited really for Micah Parsons as I targeted him pretty heavy. I think, like you're saying, I think him taking over Leighton Van Esch's role is less likely than it being, like you said, Jalen Smith taking it. I think we're going to see those two be neck and neck at the end of the year on points per game for the IDP scoring, which is pretty exciting. And then Jermaine Davis, there's no one really for him to even compete with. Most of the guys that they had in their linebacker core last year. Now Cole Holcomb is something, but this guy's gonna outdo him easily, I think. And the other guys that he would be in the running for were just bodies there eating up snaps. They weren't really doing anything with it other than tackles. So yeah, he's going to bring another element to that level of defense that the Washington football team was missing. So now they're going to have elite talent at every level of their defense, which is pretty awesome, and they're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yep, every level of the defense, like you said. I mean, it's going to be a shit show. I mean, I feel bad for Jalen Hurd and what's his butt up there in New York. I mean, they're just going to get eaten alive by this defense.
Well, even Prescott.
Yeah, you're right. And they have an offense now that can put pressure on guys. So
well, and the Washington football team, they could potentially, realistically, have 3 defensive linemen finish top 5, well, at least top 24 in 2021. I mean, that's unheard of. Now, 2 is kind of common, not common, but not as rare. But 3, I don't know that's ever happened. I mean, I've never looked it up. But that's
I know it sounds crazy, but I think that if you're just being honest with yourself, they're not out of the Super Bowl picture. I mean, I know it's early and all that, but I mean, they're such a good, and people like, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm like, he's not even that bad anymore. And they have a coach that's been to the Super Bowl and a great coach. They have the organization has completely changed its culture in the past 2-3 years. You've got young leaders on the team, offense and defense. You've got an old leader in Ryan Fitzpatrick who knows what this is about. Running game there's no holes on the Washington football team as far as coaching staff goes and as far as players go anymore.
Well, we saw with Tampa Bay what they did best, and that was get pressure to the quarterback by your front line. And that's exactly what Washington football team can do. And
that's how they made the playoffs.
And I mean, I personally don't. I mean, I think Fitzpatrick is like putting duct tape on a hole on a dam. I mean, I think there'll be games where we're like, oh yeah, he's the right deal. But then, there'll be games where Taylor Heinicke finishes it. I think.
Bro, you're high.
But I still think that their team is a dark horse to really shock some people. And at worst,
they're going to the playoffs. They'll win. I mean, they're going to go to the playoffs. I think they'll win a game or 2.
Exactly. I think
in the NFL,
realistic to see them in the NFC Conference Championship game. Now, to predict them to go to the Super Bowls, I don't blame anyone for doing it, but I think them going to the championship game is pretty likely.
They get in the championship game and they score an opening drive touchdown, and that defense puts their foot on the gas. I don't care who the fuck they're playing. They're trouble.
That would be
trouble.
Well, they were the closest to defeating the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers in the playoffs. They if they did have Fitzpatrick, they didn't have Alex Smith, they would have won that game. I mean, they would have.
They're good.
That was a year ago, and they're better now with Curtis Samuel on offense. Obviously helping. Fitzpatrick's going to crazy help Terry McLaurin. And just in general,
Terry McLaurin was hurt last year too. Like that team was like they went into the playoffs struggling and still put the like you said the Super Bowl champs on their heels. So it's going to be some scary shit.
Nobody wants to talk about Logan Thomas, being a top 3 tight end, but it happened. Yeah. And the offense again could be better. So yeah, they're obviously trending up, but they're trending up in a hard way, and I can't wait for. I mean, it's weird to say. I'm excited for the NFC East to see how those is really, to me, it's just them and Dallas, and then New York improving a lot, but not being that level.
Yeah,
from
New
that
York
division.
is a good team on paper, but when it comes time to hit the field and put a drive together, I'm a lot
Yeah, I
less
mean,
confident.
they've got a lot of things in line other than their quarterback. And I mean, they needed to wait a year, and so yeah, they're I think they're doing things better than we know. And next year, I think if they can get someone under there that makes sense, that can is competent, they could surprise some people, especially playing in that division.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All
Which
right.
we
Well, that's
say that, but that division is obviously trending up. So I mean, maybe that narrative has changed in a year that the NFC East isn't the worst in the league.
maybe. All right, we're gonna close you guys out. We have 3 guys left on our list. We have 22 Foysaid Olakun, 23 Miles Jack, and 24 Jerome Baker. Olakun, kind of a do-it-all linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. Took him a couple of years to actually get the starting job, though. But when he did get it this last year, he did prove himself to be a good tackler and a good impact player. Even though he missed a game and then left another game early, he still finished as a top 12 linebacker this season. He had one game where he had like 4 forced fumbles in like a half. I mean, it was one of the wildest things you've probably ever seen in the NFL. But yeah, he's trending the right way, and he's kind of like I don't want to say like a cornerstone piece, but he's one of the guys on the defense right now for Atlanta that I don't think they're going to move away from. Um, so he comes in at 22 for us. Miles Jack, I noticed on that PFF thread I was telling you earlier, he was getting a lot of love, but he doesn't really do a lot besides tackle and show up. And then Jerome Baker, I really like Jerome Baker. I think he could be up this list a little bit higher. Miami didn't do anything to address the linebacker position in the draft. They didn't really do anything in free agency. I think they brought in Benardrick McKinney, maybe, but I mean, it's still Jerome Baker's job. Flores has been there 3 seasons now, and I mean, he hasn't moved away from Jerome Baker. He blitzes him a lot, so he does have blow up games. He had a game last season where he was the linebacker one. Was that week one? Maybe that was week one. But he can get home for sacks. He's got a decent tackle floor. So that's kind of a mixed bag of guys there for you. But any strong thoughts, feelings, or opinions on either of those 3 players?
Yeah, out of the 3, I think it is Jerome Baker that I'm most excited for, because if any one of them were to just have a huge blow up season, I think he's the one that's capable of doing that. Like you said, he doesn't have any really much competition there, so he's going to get the opportunities. And the 7 sacks last year is pretty awesome. He did. I don't think he actually rushed the quarterback a lot. Let's
Did he
see.
not? I
Well,
think I
no, he
thought he
blitzed
did.
99 times, so that's
That's a
not bad.
lot. That's
Yeah,
really
that's a
good.
good amount. So yeah, but still, I mean, 7 sacks, you love seeing that. The impact plays are going up. The pass deflections, he averages 3. He's had 2 forced fumbles each of the last 2 years. So this is a guy that I think of the 3, I'm most excited to see watch. And I love that a lot of people don't really even know much about him. That's great for anyone who does their research, looks at these rankings. I mean, this is somebody that you can definitely go out and get at a pretty damn good price.
Agreed. Yeah, of those guys, I think he's kind of the one that I would want the most too. He did come in as 24 on our consensus, but these are kind of early. Things will definitely be changing. So, give you guys one more word from our sponsors, and then we will close out the show. What's good, IDP Army? It's Jordan Rains, and quickly, I want to tell you guys today about the big project I've been working on, the Ultimate IDP Index. The Ultimate IDP Index is the #1 resource for IDP fantasy football players, rookies or veteran for 2021. Inside, you're going to find contract information, tiered IDP rankings, detailed player production profiles going back to 2017, suggested trade values, and a whole lot more, including unique write-ups, unique videos that will only be available within the Ultimate IDP Index. But to me, probably the most valuable thing is the fact that the trade value estimation tool is going to be updated weekly, so you'll always be aware of what a player is worth in your Dynasty League at any given moment. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for the IDP Army Patreon today. Patreon.com/the IDP Army. Join the Black Ops tier and join the IDP Army today. All right, IDP Army, we have given you our top 24 linebackers. We have given you our top 24 defensive linemen. You can check out those episodes of the podcast. You can check out those shows on the YouTube channel. We appreciate you as always. If you are the Patreon, I quickly want to talk about the IDP Army Gladiator League. So we will be setting out an announcement and a sign-up sheet, or we'll be getting you organized into those leagues for the patrons of the Black Ops tier or the tier right below that. I forget what the actual title of that one is. Elite tier, I believe, is elite tier. Or special ops. So if you're in those tiers, you can get access to the IDP Army Gladiator Leagues. There will be prizes for those. There will be leagues that we will be running. We'll have a commissioner set up for you guys, and it's just for our community. You know, it'll be really good time. Be competitive leagues. We'll be having having a good time over there. So I'll have some more announcements on the format of what that's going to look like, on the rules of how that's going to be set up. It's going to be not quite dynasty, but it's not going to be redraft either. It's going to be kind of like a sleeper or a keeper situation, like a keeper dynasty. So we'll have like 2 offense, 2 defense. I don't want to give too much away, but there'll be some interesting scoring adjustments in there for offensive players. You know, people like to, the Scott Fishbowl scoring is kind of getting popular, just different stuff. So we've tweaked it a little bit to some of our favorite scorings for the IDP Army settings. And yeah, so you guys can look for that on the Patreon, and on I'll have an actual announcement in the defensive back show that will come out next week. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Joe, anything else to say?
No, just the big thing is, do not draft Fred Warner over Darius Leonard or Roquan Smith, no matter what PFF tells you. Don't do it. Terrible, terrible decision. Unless you're in my league, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah. All right, I can't top that. That's some damn good advice right there. So until next time, IDP Army, we are out.